Hey, how's everyone? Another week. Hope you're all well. One of my other videos, just sort of giving a bit of an update then. So we're on week 19 for this one. I know that the settlement agreement we did last week was hidden in week 20, so sort of jumping back. But as I mentioned, I didn't particularly want to make too many changes to the Moodle, so it's worked out that way. Anyway, so this week the main activity we did in class was called union representation, and I've done it in the form of a domino game. So what it is you've got these cards. And what I've done is I cut them up, not into squares, but into the rectangles, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically, I got everyone to play. So I handed out, they all divided it amongst each of the tables. And then obviously we would start with card number 1. And on card number 1, it says, go to question 1. I'd also handed out a questionnaire sheet, and then the questions for the domino game is what is the purpose of suspension and how it should be carried out. What everyone then did is work through each of the questions using the dominoes. So the dominoes in itself is a case study. And then looking at the ACAS code of practice and the guide, which is contained in the Moodle. I also have modified. Sorry, just in terms of switching. As you're working through the questions, some of them I've added an additional question with a reference to a relevant case law. And my intention there was just to push the issue a little bit further and particularly just grab some of that interest. In particular, as for some of you, you will have some experience, a lot of experience, or potentially even no experience in terms of working with the ACAS code of practice on how an employer should run a disciplinary procedure. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit of liberty and just get you to think about it in, a little bit more. And hopefully give you that sense of roundedness in terms of not just knowing the basics and what they mean, but having an understanding of where the law has come from, or the courts have interpreted some of the detail that's contained within the code of practice. I think ideally, as I said to people, it's about revisiting some of the language. It is, for some people as well, for some of you, it's getting a closer look at the code of practice and what that means. And I think for a few of you, it's which is what happened in class last Tuesday, was almost a penny drop moment between looking at what the basic law says around this and then the extent for which some of your policies go over and above what the legal minimum says. And I thought the biggest lesson there was making the link between the role of the union, not just of yourselves as reps who will end up representing members, but also the role of the wider union within your employers to sit down and negotiate these things. And one of the things that came up very clearly was, for example, some policies have got in it that union reps will be allowed to sit in with members when there is an investigatory meeting. But when you compare that to the ACAS code of practice, there isn't anything. In fact, it just says, maybe. Why not? It's a good idea. You don't have to do it. or even where some of your policies have a lot more steps, decision making. So actually it's a lot more. And even to the extent where these things become contractual. And therein lies a bit of a lesson as well beyond this activity, which is, would we want our disciplinary policies to become contractual? And I think there's a big issue to think about, particularly if your policies are a lot better than just having to rely on what the government has provided through ACAS and its code of practice. So hopefully that puts some element of context and how that broadness about it. This is in view of us preparing for the Employment Tribunal visit. This activity meets 4.1 and 4.2. If you've done the settlement agreement and uploaded it, then potentially you don't need to do this. So, you know, and on the issue of work, please, can you catch up if you need to? Brilliant. Thanks very much and have a good weekend. See you. Bye.